Hi folks, this is about understanding and going about answering the questions that we teachers ask you. I'm going to try and give you something that no one gave me throughout my academic life, yet they should have done, and it's gloriously simple and foolproof. It doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get a good mark, because for that you have to do research and think through your arguments and all the rest of it, and to write well, use evidence, cite and attribute sources, etc. But if you can show that you've understood the question and you're going about it in a logical way, that is half the battle. At least you know then you're not going to miss out anything that is there hidden in the question. You haven't answered the question as you would like it to be. You've answered the question that the teachers actually posed. So let's talk about it. Let's talk turkey. Let's get technical. Well, what you need is something like a number of these. Despite the colour that that looks, this is green, not turquoise. I would suggest that you get 2 or 3 of these whenever a teacher gives you a piece of work to do. Okay? Well, what do you do with the first one? Well, you read and you reread the piece of work that you are, or the topic, the title that you're being asked to address, the question. And with the first one, I suggest you highlight the question words. Please be aware there may well be more than one question word. For example, how, and why. That's 2. It's not how and why slammed together. I'm asking, how does this happen and why is it the case? Okay? There are 2 different things there. Don't generalize them. Don't slam them together. There are 2 different question words or question phrases. To what extent is Okay, so if you do that, you will identify that perhaps there is more than one question or one question word in a question that a teacher is posing. All right? So that's the first part. Then get out your second highlighter. That is not orange, that's red, but there we go. Get out your second highlighter, and what do you do with that? Well, with your second highlighter, what I want you to do is to look at the subject words. There may be more than one. Okay? So, logically, if, let's say, you have 2 question words and you have 2 subject words, clearly you're going to apply question 1 to subject 1 to subject 2 and question 2 to subject 1 and subject 2. So essentially you've got 4 main bits in the main body of your work. What else are you going to have? Well, what else is in the question, first of all? What haven't you highlighted? Well, there may be an instruction or a context. For example, in the guise of a newly appointed marketing manager, so they've given you a specific context. You have to address that with the mindset, the situation of a marketing manager who's just arrived in a company, having only just been appointed. So you're asked to deal with the questions and the subjects in the context, in the perspective of a newly appointed marketing manager. Okay? So, if you've got the question words, if you've got the subjects, if you've got a context or an instruction that helps you do it, then you embody all that in your answer. So how many bits are you going to have? Well, the first thing you need to do is an introduction. What does any teacher, any lecturer want to see in the introduction? Well, it's pretty easy, actually. I want you to see that you've looked at the question and you've understood it and you've come up with a good methodology, a good approach to going and answering all of the bits that I wanted, all aspects of the question. Okay, that is what the introduction is for. Don't, for heaven's sake, son, in 1848, no. We don't go into the subject in detail at this point. The introduction, the purpose of the introduction is to show you've understood the question, you've taken it on board, you've had a think about it, you've organized your thoughts, and this is how you're going to deliver it. So you're going to deal with it, let's say, if there are 2 question words and 2 subjects, you introduce to the teacher there's going to be 4 elements. Question 1 to subject 1. Question 1 to subject 2. Question 2 to subject 1. Question 2 to subject 2. That's the main body. Well, what comes after that? Well, there you've been doing the analysis. You've been pulling things apart. Well, after you've pulled it all apart, what will the teacher want to know? Well, after you've done all that pulling apart, what does it mean? When you look at it and you evaluate it, having taken it all apart, does it mean it's good? Does it mean it's excellent? Does it mean it's very poor? Whatever it is that we're looking at. Does it mean it can be improved and where the improvements might come from? Well, what you do then is you draw conclusions based upon your evidence. You can't just say, oh, I think that. You need to base your conclusions upon that evidence. And the conclusion might be something like, well, actually, marketing using social networks is more difficult than people think because it's quite difficult to measure the success or failure or whether there's a return on investment that people have made in social networks. Well, that's a good conclusion. So what do you do then? Perhaps you can advance recommendations. To move this forward, perhaps companies ought to consider ways of doing this and this and this in order to be more sure that the investment that they are making is really paying off. Okay, so there you go. Introduction, question words to your subject words, conclusions, recommendations. What more does the teacher want than that? Now, if you use that to break down any question we teachers give you, you can't go far wrong. You may not always do things to the depth that we might want. You might have missed some very important theory or considerations. That's always possible. But at least you will have got all of the key parts of it. At the beginning, when the teacher starts reading, after the first long paragraph explaining what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, the teacher's thinking, yep, okay, that's exactly what I wanted. I'm looking forward to this. This is probably going to get a good mark. Oh, while I'm on that subject, here's something important for you that goes to the heart of why you need a fabulous introduction. Teachers are human beings. I know that will come as a shock. Sorry about that noise. I can't record this again for the moment, so here we go. So what you will need is to be able to convince the teacher that you're doing the right thing in your introduction, because teachers are human and we form opinions right at the beginning. Do you remember, you know the saying, you never get a second chance to make a first impression? Well, it applies to when we mark. If in the first 20 lines we haven't got a clue what you're doing, we're probably thinking, I don't think this is going to be worth a pass. We've already formed an opinion. Once we've formed an opinion, we try to be objective. We try to open up to the possibility that it could get better. But generally speaking, once we've formed an opinion, it tends to confirm itself. So if you are doing something and you find that it is really, we're reading something and we find that it's really, really good, it's set up well, this student has identified exactly what I want, has come up with a good structure, I know what's coming next, I know the skeleton for the whole assignment, I know where I'm going, already I'm thinking this is going to be really good. I'm heading for a 16, 17 perhaps here. And it's difficult, again, to change that. If you've formed a really good opinion, you know, we tend to want to try and keep that good opinion if we can throughout your work. So please, 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 please remember the highlighter test. Highlighter 1, instruction words, question words. Highlighter 2, subject words. And then what's left is contextual information that you need to take on the way you answer it. Okay, there we go. Bye.